Hello, hello, hello. Stephanie here. How are you doing? I am super, super, super excited to be with you all because this is the first in our live series. We're going live every day for 7 days in the run up to our book launch. It's the long awaited launch of the Rent to Rent Success book. We put a lot into it, and I think you're really going to love it. The early reviewers, we've had some amazing feedback, and we can't wait for this book to be in your hands. And so we're doing this this live series, giving you lots of information and building the excitement about Rent to Rent and about the book, and giving you lots of exciting information. So before I go into today's episode, which is all about the 3 things that you must do if you're getting started in Rent to Rent in 2021. I just want to quickly tell you a little bit about the book and about the series. So the book is all about our Rent to Rent success system and the simple steps that you can take to get started in property without buying it, the ethical way to do it, and to really create the freedom in your life that you want. So I'm here today talking. I'll be here with you at 1 p.m. every day. And today's is about the 3 things that you need to know that you must do getting started. Tomorrow's is about the 3 biggest mistakes. And next week, it gets super exciting because I've got some amazing guests joining me. They've all used Rent to Rent to rocket their careers. And this is called the Rent to Rent Rocket series. We got on Monday, we've got Jamie Medill from the HMO Experience who's joining us, talking about how he got started and also his tips and insights for you in building and growing a Rent to Rent business. And then on Wednesday, we've got Andy Graham from the HMO Roadmap, again, telling how he's catapulted his success. I remember initially hearing him on the Inside Property Investing podcast way back in 2000. He was on the podcast in 2015. I first came across the podcast 2016, and he's gone on to build an incredible business since then, and he's going to be talking. And then we've also got Steve Curtis, who I absolutely adore. He's a host of Rent to Rent Live and runs a really successful rent to rent business, and he'll be on giving his perspectives, and that's on Friday, which is also book launch day. I can see we've got some people watching. If you're watching, say hello so I can see you. Let me know where in the country you are watching from, and just put a comment in there letting me know where you're watching from, letting me know that you're watching live, that you are here with us live and direct right now. And I want this to be really interactive as well. So what I want is if you've got any questions at all, do not go home with your questions. Make sure that you put your questions right underneath and I will answer them. So that is it with day 1. I will see you tomorrow at 1, but let's get right in now to the 3 things that you must have starting in Rent to Rent in 2021. And let me say hi to Kerry, who's watching from Peterborough. We've got Emmanuel, who's in London. We've got Sunny in Northwest London, and we've got Steph from Africa. Yemi saying hi, Steph from Africa. Fantastic. Dan is from Colchester and Essex. And go ahead and give the video a like. And let's go in now. I have to say before I start, these are the 3 things. These are maybe not the things that you want to know about, but they're the things that I see that make the biggest difference when you're getting started if you don't put these in place. And you'll see that it's quite simple. So number 1 is the one thing you must have in place when you start in Rent to Rent in 2021 is you must go all in. So I see a lot of people approaching this like, oh, I'm just going to dip my toe. I'm just going to dip my toe in the water. I'm just going to see. I'm not really. No, that doesn't work, because when you get any brain resistance, when you don't feel like calling an agent, when you don't feel like sending a landlord letters, you're not going to do it if you're just dipping your toe in, if you're just a maybe see how it goes. No, when you go all in, let me give you an example of what going all in feels like. It's like you're told you've got to move out of your house within 2 months. Maybe you own your house. Maybe there's some sort of structural thing happening and it's collapsing or something. But you have to go, whatever the reason is, you have to move your family out of your home within 2 months. You're not going to be saying, oh, I'll maybe call the agents tomorrow. You are going to be on that phone. You're going to be on Rightmove. You're going to be looking. You're going to be active. You're going to be taking those steps. You're going to make that 2 months some of the most productive 2 months in terms of finding a new property, because you know that if you don't find a new property within that time frame, you're going to be homeless. So that is the sort of impetus that I want you to put behind it. When you say to yourself, yes, I'm going to get started in rent to rent this year, I want you to put some of that energy behind it to say, right, I'm going to spend the next 3 months totally focused, totally taking the actions, doing whatever it takes, because whatever it takes isn't complicated, but it does require that energy behind it. You need to put yourself in those communities with those people, with people who are succeeding, with people who are doing what you want to do, not just with all the naysayers who are going to be telling you that it's not going to be working. You need to make sure that you're part of a positive community. People underestimate how important that is. When you know that you're going to be homeless in 2 months, you're going to keep on doing it. And the other reason I like to bring up this analogy for you is that when you start rent to rent, a lot of the times you complicate it in your mind. The very first part of it is renting a property. That's something we can all do. It's just you might need to approach it differently. And we give you a lot of the finesse, obviously, about how to approach it, because we see what really works, what works for most people, what can work for you. So that's number one, going all in. Because if you knew that you were going to be successful, you wouldn't ever give up, because you're going to be successful. So you would keep taking the steps. So it's really easy if you get your deal really quickly. Like we had Temi, who got her first deal within 4 weeks. We were lucky and we got our first deal within not very long of starting. But it does depend. And Mark nearly gave up. He didn't really nearly give up, but he took 4 months to get his first deal. And now he's got 9 rent-to-rent properties and he's left his full-time job. And Lois as well took a longer time. I want to say around 6-9 months. It was a longer time, but she kept going and she's got her deals now. She's got a thriving business. So if 2021 is your year, tell me in the comments if you're starting rent to rent this year and you're all in. Put in the comments, I'm all in. It's part of making that commitment. Put it down in writing. Put I'm all in. This is the number one predictor of success. And since we said our earlier hellos, we've had Deborah join from London, Sarah from Chelmsford, we've got Emily Harmon all the way from the US of A, we've got Nicole from Hertfordshire, and Emily's from Virginia in the USA. Lovely, lovely woman who's got the Onward community and podcast. So do check that out. And Sunny is all in. Fantastic. Deborah is all in. Dan is all in. I love this. So just keep that energy behind it. And we can keep those focused energies for especially work for a short period of time. Like make the first quarter of 2020, the first 3 months, the first 90 days, what am I doing each day? What are the things I need to do? So let's go on now to number 2 item. The second thing that you must have if you're going into rent to rent in 2021, you don't know it yet, you're not doing it yet, you're just starting. You must focus on one thing. Now, this is hugely important too, because what I see, my mind goes to it as well. It's a human thing. It's a human thing that it's what we do to ourselves. So rather than saying, okay, I'm going to go all in on rent to rent for 3 months. It doesn't mean I'm never going to do commercial conversion. It doesn't mean I'm never going to buy an HMO. It doesn't mean I'm never going to do a lease option. But it just means that right now, I'm going to focus everything on one thing. And that one thing is getting my first rent-to-rent property and getting it up and running, getting the rent coming in, getting the wheels of that machine working, making it happen for myself, making the dream happen by taking very focused actions. Because what happens when your brain tries to tell you, okay, rent to rent's okay, but what about buying properties? Rent to rent's okay, but what about lease options? Rent to rent's okay, but what about sourcing properties? What your brain will do then is it just will go into confusion. It'll go into overwhelm. And you know what happens when you go into confusion and overwhelm? It's the opposite to what you want, because you can't take action. You can't take action from confusion and overwhelm. So as Deborah says, focus, 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 no more shiny penny. Exactly. You can bring the shiny penny back in after you've got your first deal. Yemi said she's all in. Grace said she's watching from Dagenham and she's all in. This is fantastic. So that's the second one. Now I'm going to get into some more practical steps, because you might say to me, yeah, Stephanie, I'm all in. I'm focused. I'm on those two things. Give me the good stuff. Let me know what to do. So that's what we're going to do now. Is the third thing that you need if you're in rent to rent and you're getting started right now in 2021 is you need to get your foundations right. Now, if you're watching right now and you're getting started and you've got any confusion whatsoever about anything, I want you to put your question in the comments box. And then when I go through the foundations, I'm going to pick up and come to you with your comments. Natalie is from London. She's all in. So these are the foundations that you must have in place before you get started in rent to rent. So you must know how to choose your area and the 4 P's of choosing the right area that is going to work for you. So important. So how to choose your area. Then you need to know what makes a good HMO. Again, super, super, super important. You need to know all about the HMO licensing. You need to know how to get the HMO landlord list. You need to know about accountants and VAT, and you need to know, you need to know how much money do you need to start. So those are what I call the foundations. And when you've got a good foundation of that, it just makes everything else so much easier. And as you can imagine, if you are getting started in rent to rent, if you're watching this video, you absolutely do need to buy the Rent to Rent Success book. It will be coming out on Friday. There will be a launch. If you want to get in on the pre-launch, then do join the VIP list at renttorentsuccess.com/book. Oh, it's actually at renttorentbook.com as well. rentbook.com, and we'll have a pre-launch only for that list and our Kickstarters. And that pre-launch is for a crazy good offer that you won't want to miss. And that will be on the Thursday, whereas the public launch will be on the Friday. So first of all, let's talk about how to choose your area, the 4 P's. The 4 P's we have are: 1, have the location be practical. So start where you are, where you live, or where you work. 2, to have it near people hubs. So be where people are going, be near people hubs. 3, be near public transport links, i.e. be easy to get to. And 4, be the right property type, be where the HMOs are. And so that's number 1. You need to choose the right location, which means that you've got your foundations. The second thing is, what makes a good HMO? And you've got to have a good grounding in that. It's the same thing as what makes well, the foundations of it, what makes a good place to live for the type of people that you want to attract as your housemates. So there's 4 things to consider. One is licensing, which I'm going to cover in a second. The second one is location, which we've already talked about. The third one is layout, because you've got to make sure that the room works well. It might work well as a single let, but will it work well with the layout when it's a group of people who don't know each other sharing? Got to make sure that that works. And the fourth one is lifestyle. Can the type of tenants that you want to attract get the lifestyle they want in the property you have? That's things to do with parking. It's things to do with what's nearby the property, and all of that good stuff. And I've seen we've had a great question in from Dan, which I'm going to come to. And we've also Nicole saying, can't wait to get the book. Selwyn saying he can't wait to get his signed copy. Thank you so much, guys. I just have been so touched by all the support. I've really sort of had my nose in a book or slaving on a hot computer all year, getting it written. And it's been so great to, lift my head up and just see so many people so excited to get it and so supportive. So really, thank you. And I just really hope that you love the book as much as we do, and that intention comes over. So the third one we've talked about so far, how to choose your area, what makes a good HMO. The next one we're going to talk about is HMO licensing. Now, I know a lot of people worry about HMO licensing. You know that it's mandatory to get HMO licensing for any properties for 5 or more people, no matter how many stories they are, or across the UK. But there are additional licensing and selective licensing in other areas, and in some areas rather, and that is Article 4. So what I want to say here is that, yes, you can do rent to rent even in an Article 4 area. And the reason you can do that is because you can work with existing HMOs. And that's exactly what we do. We're in an Article 4 equivalent area here in Wales. And so we just work only with existing HMOs. And that works really, really well for us. Now, do you remember when we had the Rent to Rent Rockstars, and one of your favorite episodes, I'll just say, it was Maria. And she actually... what did she do? She actually converted a property to an HMO. That's not what we normally recommend, but that really worked out well for her. So I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm just saying it's much simpler to just stick to existing HMOs. And it means you can send people the landlord letters as well. So what do you need to know about HMO licensing? So we've talked about the basics there, but one of the key messages is you can do rent to rent even in an Article 4 area. So the next foundation you need is how to get your HMO landlord list from the council. Remember that the council can be tricksy. They might tell you that they can't give it you because of GDPR, or they can't give it you because they don't feel like it, or they can't give it you because you're using it for business. None of that is true. The legal position is that the government has mandated that the councils must make this information public. So within the Kickstarter, we've given you the exact copy and paste template of exactly what to say to any tricksy councils, because if they're refusing you the information, they're breaking the law. And it's as simple as that. So accounts and VAT. So just with that, you just need at the very start a very simple way of recording. And we suggest of how to do that in a simple way. And then finally, the other foundational piece that you'll need to know before you get started is how much money do you need to get started with rent to rent. And what I want to say to you on this one is to set up the actual business side of things and the compliance and all of that actually is much less than you would think. We've calculated it out for the insurances, the websites and all of that, business cards and all the just basics. And it's less than £600. And you can even reduce that further by doing some of it DIY. And we've got a list of everything on that in one of the podcast episodes I did, and I broke it down, and that's on the website, renttorentsuccess.com. On the blog, you can see that you can search anything. So if you just say, how much money do I need to start or set up my business, you'll get that article. So let me come now to the questions. And Dan says, I'm all in. I've been speaking to agents to try and find properties, and they all seem to be put off when I ask if they have any HMOs available for rent. I'm thinking maybe I should ask if they have any rooms, as it sounds more natural to start the conversation. Any tips on this? Great question, Dan. Well, I think there's two ways to approach it. One way is, and what I love about this, Dan, is I love what you're doing. So you're testing things out, you're getting the feedback, and then you're adapting. But what I find is there's two ways, basic ways to contact agents. One is you've seen a specific property and you're saying, I would specifically like to rent this property. Or the other way is you can go to them and say, hi, Mr. Estate Agent or Mrs. Estate Agent, I'm looking for properties to house professional tenants. We're short of properties at the moment. I'd like to partner with an agency like yours. We'll manage the tenants in there. You'll get paid your rent, your commission as normal. And so it's a really good arrangement and can work very well. If you have this sort of property, I'd love to talk to you. Would you be open to this? You know, you can go in. That's the sort of partnership model, or you can go in on the specific property model. I think it's okay to ask for HMOs. If they don't like it, that's okay. We ask for HMOs because that's all we're interested in. Other people might be interested in converting to HMO. At the moment, for rent to rent, we're not interested in that. So we do only ask for HMOs. It just means that no matter what you say, not everybody will be interested anyway. So that was a fantastic question. So Sunny is saying it's the unencumbered properties that sometimes stumps me. Do you mean you're concerned about what does unencumbered mean, Sunny? Or unencumbered just means there's no mortgage against it. So how would that stump you? Just ask another question if I haven't answered you, Sunny. And Emily says, oh yes, she thought her daughter might like to watch it. Not all this applies, but the mindset and the focus points, yes. And I just want to say that as well, from after reading Emily's comment, that I was very much a professional procrastinator. And it's a mixture of a lot of things that were inside of me. So such as I didn't feel that I was worthy. I didn't feel that I could do it. I didn't feel confident in myself. And so that would cause me not to take actions that I needed to take, or to not be focused, or to allow confusion, or to allow overwhelm to stop me from acting. And it's only in the last few years I've really learned some of these mindset skills to be able to move forward and be so much more productive than I ever have been in my life, and also to feel like a completely different person. And I had all this here before. I know that you all have it in me. I speak to so many people who are so talented with the careers that they have and with the things that they do, with the life that they've lived, but they can't see what their talents are. And it is a process for all of us, because as humans, we will tend to see the dangers, to see the downside, to look for anything that could go wrong. So yeah, it's a process that we're all on. So our next question is from Yemi, who says, oh, I can put it on the screen, I think. Yes, I can. How cool is that? How do you persuade potential landlords to convert a single unit to an HMO? Great question, Yemi. So usually what will do it is that they are likely to be able to get more rent from converting from a single unit to an HMO. Now, sometimes those owners might pay for it. Sometimes you as the renter might pay for it. So if you're paying them a very low single let amount, you might say, okay, well, I'll pay for the upgrades and then I'll rent it for so long. And during that rental period, you're making a lot of extra cash flow. Or the landlord might pay for it. You might be paying them more rent, and it might work out that way. So usually that extra rent and that extra income for the owner will incentivize them to want to convert if that's needed. Thanks for that question, Yemi. Deborah says, I must get the book Go for No. I hear it's fantastic and comes very highly recommended. Yes, absolutely. For all of us, our dreams are on the other side of lots of no's. Whatever we're doing, it's unlikely that we get what we want on the very, very first time. So and Go for No just changes our mindset. Rather than experiencing every no as a really negative that diminishes us over time. We experience every no as with curiosity and with exactly what Dan was saying there. When people are saying no, you're thinking, well, why are they saying no? What could I change here? How could I make this more attractive? And how could I make this more valuable to the other person? What am I missing? How can I listen better? And with going back to that letting agent example that we had earlier, what letting agents want is to get paid their commission without additional hassle or risk. And that is some of the things that we can offer them. So it's just explaining that. And if we work with HMOs and we explain, we can help you with this with HMOs, and this is why, and here's what you get. And then painting that picture, telling the story more than once, because you might have to speak to the same, well, it's likely you'll have to speak to the same agent more than once before they want to say, I'm going to come on board. So it's just being consistent with your messaging. And yeah, I love that point that you made, Deborah, about go for no. And Yemi's saying, yes, a landlord might be particularly interested in changing to an HMO if they are not making money as a single unit. So I want to thank you all for coming along today, for making it such an exciting session, for making the first of our 7 series. You know we're going to be here every day up until the launch next Friday. And I just noticed we got another question. I'm looking forward to your book. What can you do if you do not have a guarantor for your new rent-to-rent company? What I recommend is you start. The resources and the further information and the knowledge and the confidence come to you after you make that commitment. After you make that commitment, I am going to do this. When I first started, I didn't know. I felt, well, I didn't know I could do it because I'd never done it before, but I felt confident that I was going to absolutely give it my best shot. And I felt that any landlord or agent who gave me a property, I was going to look after it to the absolute best of my abilities. And so that gave me a confidence, and I felt confident that I could manage one property. So what you're saying is if you don't have a guarantor, then move forward and know that you will find the resources that you need to move forward in the way that you want to move forward. So what I would advise you to start doing, for example, is to start saving from now. If you're in the position at the moment where your money going out is more than your money coming in, and that might be the case for a lot of people now, especially if people have lost their jobs, get that straight first. Look at how you can rejig your life so that you've got more money coming in than going out. Once you've got that in place, start saving, no matter how small, start saving. And then look at how you can build up the income. Now, of course, rent to rent is one way of doing that, but there are some immediate wins as well, often by selling all the stuff we don't use, the 80% of stuff that we got that we don't use. Sunny is saying, can I get some clarification on unencumbered properties? So an unencumbered property is a property that doesn't have a mortgage on it. So if I have a house and I've paid for it in cash, it's unencumbered. That's all it means. So I'm not sure what your question is around that. So an unencumbered property, there's no mortgage against it. The person owns it in cash. Maybe they had a mortgage and they've paid it off, or maybe they bought it in cash. That's all it means. So what's the question about that, Sunny? I don't know. So what's your problem with unencumbered properties? Because you mentioned you had a problem with unencumbered properties, but I'm not sure what the problem would be, because if they're unencumbered, there's no mortgage, there's no mortgage lender. And sometimes the mortgage lenders might make special demands, which are not good. So that brings us to the end of today. And the 3 things you must have in place to get it. You must go all in. You must be focused on getting your first rent-to-rent deal, and you must have your foundations in place. And so Sunny has said, so do we have to take on, so do the properties we take on have to be unencumbered? No. All that needs to happen is that the owner needs to have the right kind of mortgage in place. Now, if you're dealing with existing HMOs, then they've got some sort of HMO mortgage, and then you're okay. But you just say to the owner that they need to make sure that their lender allows subletting, allows HMO to be done with the property. So when you're dealing with existing HMOs, that's really easy because it's really easy because what? Because they have, typically anyway, they have the right borrowing in place already. Yes. Oh my gosh, great question from Dan. Do you take over HMOs that have some tenants in already or only empty ones? Fantastic. And when we first started, we were absolutely terrified of taking on properties that already had tenants in. But then I think it was last year, we took on 6 properties in the first half of the year that already had tenants on. Not all of them, was it 3 or 4 of them already had tenants in. And so we've taken on many that have tenants in, and it gives you so much more flexibility, Dan, to be able to work with other landlords, other letting agents who are really in pain, who maybe have somebody who needs to be evicted, or that there are often issues. So I say, if you can take on your first one, ideally empty, but if you get the opportunity to take on properties with tenants in, then that also gives you massive opportunities. Like one of ours, it was a 7-bed and it had 3 tenants in, 2 were paying, 1 wasn't paying, and 1 was being evicted. And it was a 7-bedroom. It'd been losing the owner money for such a long time. She was beside herself. It was fully managed by an agent. But we were able to take it on, and we came to an agreement about what rent we would pay for her in the transitional period while we're refurbishing it. We talked to the 2 tenants who were living there, because the one who was being evicted wasn't actually living there, but they were still going through the formal eviction process. And we arranged that the whole place will be redecorated, redone, look good, and the rooms of that were tenanted, those tenants could move out a couple of nights because there were all these other empty rooms, so their rooms could be decorated, etc. So the whole place was redone. We then re-let it out, but we were able to achieve a very good rent on it, because the landlord was still making so much money. Instead of losing hundreds and hundreds of pounds every month, almost 1,000, she's making over £1,000 every month. So it's a phenomenal thing to be able to do, Dan. So I encourage you to try and do that. And that is one of the things that, these are the reasons why when people come into Kickstarter, it's great to have the experience of other people who are doing it to guide you. And I think people find that really, really useful. And Sunny's just saying, yeah, he just wanted to confirm about unencumbered properties. Thanks for clarifying the question, Sunny. I'm glad we got there. And Atlanta's saying, if you take on a property with tenants and the property requires refurbishment on the bathroom or kitchen, how do you deal with it? Well, we just do. Well, this one did require a refurb, because it had 2 bathrooms, 7 bedrooms, but you can see why it wasn't fully tenanted, because it only had 1 shower. You know, one of the bathrooms is only a bath only. And I mean, most people shower these days. Some people do like a bath. I like a bath myself, but on the day-to-day, I'm showering. So one of the bathrooms needed to have a shower put in, so we just put the shower in. Obviously, the tenants were delighted. We gave them notice that work was going to be done. They've got the other bathroom meantime. It doesn't take a long time to do this thing. And it would be the same for the kitchen, because, for example, we had a new kitchen hob put in. And so during the time when the kitchen hob, although that only takes a day, less than a day, 1 visit to fit the new hob. But yeah, we just let people know in advance and organize it with the people who live there, and it just works well. Another great question. Oh, sorry, how do you deal with the rate? Atlanta's also asking, how do we deal with the rent when we're taking on this property that's got tenants there, and the tenants may be paying a lower rent? They were paying a lower rent than what we would be hoping for. And so what we did was we made an agreement with the owner, because they're only getting rent for 2 people minus the letting agent fees, plus they're paying all the bills. So all we needed to do during the refurb period is be able to match that. And then we have a rent-free period for 3 weeks after the refurbishment period, so we can fully tenant the property. And then after that period, then we start paying the full guaranteed rent. So again, these are all things, the nuances of all the negotiations and going into the specifics for each deal is what we're able to do within the Kickstarter program. And Dan saying thanks. These questions are great, guys. Yemi saying thank you as well. And did the landlord pay for the shower? Great question. So the landlord did pay for the shower and hob. We have it set up so that the landlords pay for all of the structural stuff and we pay for all of the niceties. But we do flex within that, because sometimes a landlord might pay for furniture or redecoration, or usually we're going to pay for dressing, because all those twiddly bits are things that typically landlords are not so keen to pay for, but for us it really helps us sell the rooms, and so we're happy to pay for them. But it can be whatever you agree, Dan. And in the new Kickstarter program, we've got a whole section which is all just about how to negotiate the refurbs, who pays for the refurbs, and all of that, with examples and breakdowns. Yes, Deborah, the owner paid for the installation of the new shower, but it could be whichever way round. And Alanta's just saying thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining me for the 3 things you must have to get started in rent to rent this year. You must go all in, you must have that focus, and you must have your foundations in place. And finally, it would be remiss of me if I didn't mention the book again. Did you know we've got a book coming out? The launch is Friday, the 29th of January, 2021. And you will see it everywhere to be able to buy it. If you want to get in for a very special pre-launch only for our VIPs and Kickstarters, sign up at www.rent2rentbook.com. That's rent number 2 rentbook.com. And I will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock, where we're going to be talking about the 3 biggest mistakes I see people make in rent to rent. Oh my gosh, I can just see a few more comments and questions coming in. So I am going to turn to them. And Nicole, oh, thank you so much, Nicole. Nicole has said, the support in the Kickstarter program from Stephanie and Nikki, as well as the other members, is phenomenal. I would encourage you to sign up. Thank you so much, Nicole, for saying that. And Deborah, thank you, Stephanie, for your time and great advice today. And Dan says, awesome, I've got some agent calls to make. Yeah, just get into that mindset. I will get a deal. It's just each call taking you closer to that yes. Kudos to you, Dan. Well done for the progress that you're making. And Andrew's asking a good question. How is the property managed if it's miles away from your home? Great question. Usually you're going to pay someone to manage it if it's a long way from your home. So if you want to make all of the money, all of the profit from your properties yourself, which many of us do, that's why we're doing rent to rent, then you would want to have it so that you manage it and it's near to you. If it's far away, you've got to pay somebody else to do it. That's okay. Just know that you'll be making less money. I've joined the VIP list. So Atlanta's joined the VIP list. Great. And I will talk to you. You'll be getting emails each day telling you about these live videos, and you'll get a special email on Thursday, which lets you buy the book before everyone else for a much lower price. So great that you're on the VIP list. And Sarah's just saying, thank you. And Andrew's saying, do you manage the properties? Well, Andrew, we've been going at this for quite a while now, almost 5 years. And so we actually have an assistant property manager, Luke, who manages all the properties day to day in terms of organizing check-ins, check-outs, organizing move-ins, move-outs, keeping the rooms full. I meet with him, at the moment, I meet with him once a week, and we talk about the rooms that are coming available, the rooms that are being filled, any problems that we have across the portfolio, especially over lockdown where our voids went up. Now they're back down again, and it's just been phenomenal to see that happen. But yeah, I'm not as hands-on anymore. Yes, and Anta's not been able to make the calls yet, but she can't wait. Good. Do go on those calls. They are phenomenal. And Dan's saying he's joined the VIP for well done. If you're already in Kickstarter, you don't need to join. Well, you can join the VIP. You don't need to, because you're already going to get the emails. We're going to give you the offer. Of course, you're our closest people who are on the Kickstarter. And thank you all again. Thank you so much. It's always phenomenal for me to come and hang out with you guys. I really want to see you again tomorrow. We are talking the 3 biggest mistakes people make in rent to rent. So I look forward to seeing you Sunday at 1 o'clock. See you soon. Bye for now. See you. Bye. Bye. Bye.